Demetrious Khrisna Johnson, born August 13, 1986, is an American former professional mixed martial artist. He competed in the flyweight division of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, where he was the inaugural and former UFC Flyweight Champion, 125 pounds, with a record of 11 consecutive title defenses.
Johnson most recently competed in ONE Championship, where he is the former ONE Flyweight Champion, 135 pounds, and was the 2019 ONE Flyweight World Grand Prix Champion. He also holds the record for most consecutive wins in UFC flyweight history, with 13. Johnson is widely regarded as one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time.
ESPN, MMA Weekly, and various UFC personnel have called Johnson one of the greatest mixed martial artists in the world. Johnson has been referred to by many as the greatest flyweight, 125-pound, mixed martial arts fighter of all time, with a record of 25 wins and 4 losses in professional MMA and 36 wins and 4 losses including amateur and mixed rules bouts.
At 125 pounds, he only ever lost a single bout, a controversial split decision to Henry Cejudo, whom he knocked out in their other bout. He also held titles and notable ranked wins at 135 pounds, though also picked up 3 losses in that division.
On March 28, 2026, Johnson and family were in attendance for UFC Fight Night 271, as he was announced to join the modern wing of UFC Hall of Fame. Early years. Born in Kentucky, Johnson grew up in Parkland, Washington, where he attended Washington High School and was a standout athlete in wrestling, track, and cross country. In 2004, Johnson's junior year of high school, he qualified for the state wrestling tournament, placing second at 119 pounds. In 2005, Johnson's senior year of high school, he qualified for the state wrestling tournament, placing third at 119 pounds.
Although he only participated in track and cross country to improve his cardio for wrestling, he competed at the state championships in both of those sports as well. Johnson did receive scholarship offers for wrestling, but did not want to leave his family behind.
Ultimately, he did not take up any scholarship offers and instead attended Pierce College for 2 years while working on the side. Mixed martial arts career. Early career. Johnson in 2009. Johnson originally began training in mixed martial arts, MMA, as a hobby, continuing for 2 years before being invited to AMC Pankration, where he would meet MMA pioneer Matt Hume, who had been scouting Johnson and organized the event where Johnson made his MMA debut. He began his career in MMA as an amateur in 2006, winning via first-round knockout. Johnson then appeared on multiple local shows and won his next 8 fights, including 5 in a row by submission, for a final amateur record of 9-0. After winning his professional debut, Johnson fought at the Alaska Fighting Championships in Anchorage and won via head kick KO, which earned him a deal with the WEC, World Extreme Cage Fighting. He made his World Extreme Cage Fighting debut at bantamweight against Brad Pickett on April 24, 2010, at WEC 48 in Sacramento, California. Johnson showed good kickboxing throughout, but was unable to defend the many takedowns executed by Pickett. Johnson lost via unanimous decision. Joe Rogan predicted during the fight that should the WEC implement a flyweight division, Johnson would be highly effective, as he was a relatively small bantamweight. Johnson was expected to face Clint Godfrey on September 30, 2010 at WEC 51. However, Godfrey was forced off the card and replaced by WEC newcomer Nick Pace. Johnson defeated Pace via unanimous decision, handing Pace his first MMA loss. Johnson defeated Damasio Page via third-round submission on November 11, 2010 at WEC 52. After Pace controlled the action in the first round, Johnson was able to dictate the action for most of the second and third rounds before submitting Page via guillotine choke. Johnson later said, "He was basically drowning, and I was the shark that came up and got him from underneath." Ultimate Fighting Championship. Bantamweight competition 2011-2012. On October 28, 2010, World Extreme Cage Fighting merged with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. As part of the merger, all WEC fighters were transferred to the UFC. Johnson faced Japanese fighter Norifumi Kid Yamamoto on February 5, 2011 at UFC 126 in his UFC debut. Johnson won via unanimous decision. Johnson was scheduled to face Renan Barao on May 28, 2011 at UFC 130.
However, Johnson faced Miguel Torres after Torres's opponent, Brad Pickett, was forced off the card with an injury. Despite breaking his fibula early in the second round from a checked leg kick, Johnson used his superior wrestling to control Torres and won a 29-28 unanimous decision victory, even though he was swept into full mount a record-breaking 6 times during the fight. Johnson fought Dominick Cruz on October 1, 2011 at UFC Live Cruz vs. Johnson for the UFC Bantamweight title, losing by unanimous decision. Johnson was briefly linked to a bout with Eddie Winland on January 28, 2012 at the UFC's second event on Fox. However, Johnson was pulled from the bout to take part in a 4-man flyweight tournament to determine the UFC's first UFC Flyweight Champion. Johnson faced Ian McCall on March 3, 2012 in the first round of the flyweight tournament at UFC on FX2. This fight was the first flyweight bout in UFC history. The fight with McCall was announced as a majority decision win for Johnson. Later, in the post-fight press conference, UFC President Dana White announced that the Athletic Commission made a mistake when scoring the match, and that officially the bout was scored a majority draw, 28-28, 29-29, and 29-28 Johnson. A rematch with McCall took place on June 8, 2012, at UFC on FX Johnson vs. McCall. Johnson won the fight via unanimous decision to progress to the final round of the tournament. UFC Flyweight Champion, 2012-2018. Johnson faced Joseph Benavidez in the finals of the UFC Flyweight Tournament on September 22, 2012, at UFC 152. Johnson defeated Benavidez via split decision to become the inaugural UFC Flyweight Champion. Johnson fought John Dodson on January 26, 2013 at UFC on Fox, Johnson vs. Dodson. Johnson won the fight via unanimous decision in a bout that earned both participants Fight of the Night honors. Johnson was expected to face John Moraga on April 13, 2013 at the Ultimate Fighter 17 finale. However, Johnson was forced out of the bout with an injury, and Moraga was pulled from the event as well. The bout with Moraga eventually took place on July 27, 2013, at UFC on Fox Johnson vs. Moraga, where Johnson was looking to defend his title for a second time. Johnson won via an armbar submission late in the 5th round. The win also earned Johnson his first Submission of the Night bonus award. A rematch with Joseph Benavidez was expected for November 30, 2013 at the Ultimate Fighter 18 finale. However, the bout was moved to December 14, 2013 at UFC on Fox 9 after that event's headliner was postponed due to injury. Johnson won the rematch in emphatic fashion via knockout in the first round, becoming the first person to stop Benavidez. The win also earned Johnson his first Knockout of the Night bonus award. Johnson faced Ali Bagautinov on June 14, 2014 at UFC 174. He successfully defended his title for a 4th time, winning by unanimous decision. Subsequent to his win, on July 10, the British Columbia Athletic Commission, BCAC, announced that Bagautinov tested positive for erythropoietin, EPO, prior to the title fight. In response, the BCAC suspended Bagautinov from mixed martial arts competition for 1 year. A bout with Chris Carriasso was expected on August 30, 2014 at UFC 177. However, the bout was shifted to September 27, 2014 at UFC 178 after that event's headliner was canceled due to injury. Johnson won the fight via submission due to a kimura in the second round. This marked Johnson's 5th title defense and the first time that a kimura was used to end a fight in a UFC championship title bout. Johnson faced Kyoji Horiguchi at UFC 186, winning the one-sided fight via an armbar submission at 4:59 of the 5th round, resulting in the latest finish in UFC history. This win also secured Johnson a Performance of the Night bonus award. A rematch with John Dodson took place on September 5, 2015 at UFC 191. In a largely one-sided affair, Johnson won the fight via unanimous decision. Johnson faced Olympic gold medalist Henry Cejudo on April 23, 2016 at UFC 197. He won the fight via TKO in the first round after dropping Cejudo with a variety of strikes. The win earned Johnson his second Performance of the Night bonus. Johnson next faced Tim Elliott on December 3, 2016 at the Ultimate Fighter 24 finale. Despite being a heavy favorite, Johnson was taken down for the first time as a flyweight and nearly submitted with a Darce choke in the first round. He went on to win the remaining rounds and defended the championship via a decisive unanimous decision. Johnson faced Wilson Reyes on April 15, 2017 at UFC on Fox 24. He won by armbar submission in the third round and subsequently received a Performance of the Night bonus. With the win, Johnson tied Anderson Silva for most consecutive title defenses, 10, in UFC history. In July 2017, Johnson won an ESP award for Fighter of the Year. Johnson was briefly linked to an August 2017 fight with TJ Dillashaw. He was scheduled to face Ray Borg on September 9, 2017, at UFC 215. In turn, the fight was canceled a day before the event, as Borg was forced to withdraw from the fight on Thursday evening due to illness. According to multiple sources, Borg has been battling an illness that week and was deemed unfit to fight by UFC doctors. The bout was quickly rescheduled and took place at UFC 216. Johnson won the fight via suplex to armbar in the fifth round. This win earned him the Performance of the Night award and set the 11th successful title defense record, surpassing former middleweight champion Anderson Silva's record of 10 in the UFC. Johnson's win was called the best submission of the year from publications such as SureDog, MMAmania.com, and The MacLife. Johnson faced Cejudo in a rematch at UFC 227 on August 4, 2018 for the UFC Flyweight Championship title. After a record 11 consecutive successful title defenses, Johnson's championship reign came to an end via a split decision loss to Cejudo. This fight earned him the Fight of the Night award. 13 of 25 media outlets scored the bout in favor of Cejudo, while 12 scored it for Johnson. Hall of Fame, 2026. During UFC Fight Night 271's broadcast in March 2026, Johnson was announced as the next Modern Wing inductee into the UFC Hall of Fame, with the ceremony scheduled for International Fight Week in Las Vegas on July 9, 2026. ONE Championship. On October 27, 2018, Johnson was traded to ONE Championship for former ONE welterweight champion Ben Askren. Johnson was expected to make his promotional debut in the first quarter of 2019. ONE Flyweight Grand Prix. On November 7, 2018, it was announced that Johnson would be one of 8 participants in the ONE Flyweight World Grand Prix. On December 19, 2018, it was announced that Johnson will be facing Yuya Wakamatsu at ONE Championship A New Era on March 31, 2019, in the promotion's inaugural event in Japan. In his ONE Championship debut, Johnson defeated Yuya Wakamatsu via a guillotine choke submission in the second round. Johnson's second ONE Championship fight took place at ONE Championship Dawn of Heroes on August 2, 2019. He faced Tatsumitsu Wada in the semifinals of the ONE Flyweight Grand Prix and won the fight by unanimous decision to advance to the finals. Johnson then faced Danny Kingad at ONE Championship Century in the finals of the ONE Championship Flyweight Grand Prix on October 12, 2019. He defeated Kingad in a dominant unanimous decision victory and became the ONE Flyweight World Grand Prix champion. ONE Flyweight title shot. After claiming the Grand Prix victory, Johnson was set to challenge ONE Flyweight champion Adriano Moraes at Infinity One. The fight was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Johnson faced Moraes at ONE on TNT1 on April 7, 2021. The event was held at the Singapore Indoor Stadium in Kelong, Singapore, and was broadcast on TNT during U.S. primetime. He lost the bout via KO in round 2 by a knee and punches. Special rules fight with Rodtong Jitmuangnon. On September 15, 2021, it was announced that Johnson would fight Rodtong Jitmuangnon, the reigning ONE Flyweight Muay Thai World Champion and considered by many to be the current best pound-for-pound Muay Thai fighter. The fight was contested under special rules, with rounds 1 and 3 being fought under the ONE Muay Thai rule set, and rounds 2 and 4 being fought under the ONE MMA rule set. However, due to the pandemic shutdowns, the event was rescheduled for ONE X on March 26, 2022. Johnson won the bout via a rear naked choke submission in the second round. ONE Flyweight Champion, 2022-2023. On June 2, 2022, it was reported that Johnson would rematch Adriano Moraes for the ONE Flyweight Championship at ONE on Prime Video 1. Johnson would go on to defeat Moraes by knockout via a flying knee in the fourth round to capture the ONE Flyweight Championship. This win earned him the Performance of the Night award. The trilogy bout between Johnson and Moraes was held on May 5, 2023 at ONE Fight Night 10. Johnson won the bout by unanimous decision. Johnson announced his retirement from the sport on September 6, 2024 at ONE 168. Following his retirement speech, ONE CEO Chatri Sitiodong announced that Johnson was the first inductee into the ONE Hall of Fame.
Grappling career. Johnson entered the IBJJF Master World Championship on August 31, 2023 to compete in the Brown Belt Master 2 Featherweight 154-pound division. Johnson defeated 6 opponents and won a gold medal at the event. Johnson then competed at the IBJJF Pan Championship 2024 on March 22 to 25, 2024, winning a gold medal in the Brown Belt Master 2 Featherweight division and a silver medal in the Brown Belt Master 2 Absolute division. Johnson competed for the first time as a black belt in the IBJJF Master World Championship on August 30, 2024, in the Black Belt Master 2 Featherweight division. He won his first 3 matches and made it to the quarterfinal before being submitted for the first time in jiu-jitsu competition. He returned to compete in the same division of the IBJJF Pan Championship 2025, losing on points in the opening round. Fighting style? UFC commentator Joe Rogan, ESPN.com, and other media outlets have called Johnson the greatest mixed martial artist in the world. Known as one of the fastest fighters in MMA, Johnson's martial arts background is in wrestling, which he uses effectively to control where the fight takes place and land numerous takedowns in a single match when necessary. In addition to his wrestling base, Johnson is also recognized for quick striking and elusive movement. He is noted for his ability to land fast punches and kicks to the head or body, then quickly escape an opponent's reach. He is also known for his ability to counter-strike while standing within the pocket. During upper body clinches, Johnson has also utilized the Muay Thai plum while mixing in a series of elbows and knees. To complement his traditional wrestling base, Johnson is also schooled in catch wrestling under his longtime coach Matt Hume, as evident by his catch-style direct suplex to arm lock transition against Ray Borg and his double wrist lock submission, aka Kimura, of Chris Carriasso. Johnson is known for cross-training and visiting other athletes to learn different techniques, like ADCC veteran and fellow ONE Championship fighter Gary Tonin. Personal life. Johnson had a harsh childhood. He was raised by his deaf mother and an abusive stepfather, and his sister attempted suicide when he was a teenager. Johnson met his biological father for the first time in 2017, and they have since developed a great relationship. The main thing that has helped him move on from his past is his wife, Destiny Johnson. He says, "She is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and without her, life would be incomplete." They were wed May 11, 2012, in Hawaii. They have 2 sons, Tyron, born in 2013, and Maverick, born April 15, 2015, and a daughter who was born in August 2018. Johnson is an avid gamer and streams via YouTube under the username Mighty. On a podcast in February 2025, Johnson revealed that his sister is lesbian and that his brother is gay. Championships and accomplishments. Mixed martial arts. ONE Championship. ONE Hall of Fame. Inaugural inductee, 2024. ONE Flyweight Championship. 1-time, former. 1 successful title defense. 2019 ONE Flyweight World Grand Prix Champion. Performance of the night, 1-time, versus Adriano Moraes. 2022 MMA Knockout of the Year versus Adriano Moraes at ONE on Prime Video 1. Ultimate Fighting Championship. UFC Hall of Fame, Modern Wing, Class of 2026. UFC Flyweight Championship, 1-time. Inaugural. 11 successful title defenses. Most consecutive title defenses in UFC history, 11. Most consecutive title defenses in UFC Flyweight division history, 11. Second most successful title defenses in UFC history, 11, behind Jon Jones. Longest title reign in UFC Flyweight division history, 2,142 days. Most wins in UFC Flyweight title fights, 12. Third most. Wins in UFC title fights, 12. Most UFC Flyweight title fights, 13. Fourth most UFC title fights, 14. Most submissions in UFC title fights, 5. Fourth most finishes in UFC title fights,
7. UFC Flyweight Championship Tournament winner. Fight of the night, 3 times, versus Ian McCall, John Dodson, and Henry Cejudo. Knockout of the night, 1 time, versus
Joseph Benavidez. Submission of the night, 1 time, versus John Moraga. Performance of the night, 4 times, versus Kyoji Horiguchi, Henry Cejudo, Wilson Race, and Ray Borg. Second fighter on UFC roster to be awarded bonus payments in all 4 possible categories: fight, knockout, performance, and submission of the night awards. Most post-fight bonuses in UFC Flyweight division history, 9. Most consecutive wins in UFC Flyweight division history, 13. Tied, John Jones. George St. Pierre. Max Holloway and Habib Nurmagomedov for 5th longest win streak in UFC history, 13. 5th longest unbeaten streak in UFC history, 14. Tied Joseph Benavidez for 2nd most wins in UFC Flyweight division history, 13, behind Alexander Pantoja. Tied Davison Figueiredo for 2nd most finishes in UFC Flyweight division history, 7, behind Alexander Pantoja.
2nd for most submission wins in UFC Flyweight division history, 5, behind Alexandra Pantoja. 2nd most total fight time in UFC Flyweight division history, 4 hours 39 minutes 12 seconds, behind Brandon Moreno. Longest average fight time in UFC Flyweight division history, 18 minutes 37 seconds. 2nd longest average fight time in UFC history, 18 minutes 34 seconds. Most control time in UFC Flyweight division history, 1 hour 26 minutes 54 seconds. 2nd most significant strikes landed in UFC Flyweight division history, 1,059, behind Brandon Moreno. Highest significant strike percentage in UFC Flyweight division history, 57.2%. Largest significant strike differential in UFC Flyweight division history, 2. Highest significant strike defense percentage in UFC Flyweight division history, 68.4%. 2nd least amount of strikes absorbed per minute in UFC Flyweight division history, 1. 2nd most total strikes landed in UFC Flyweight division history, 1,678. 2nd most takedowns landed in UFC Flyweight division history, 58. 5th most takedowns landed in UFC history, 74. 3rd and tied with Khamzat Chimaev for 4th most takedowns landed in a UFC title fight, 14 versus Kyoji Horiguchi and 12 versus John Moraga. Tied Royce Gracie for most armbar submission wins in UFC history, 4. 6th most bouts in UFC Flyweight division history, 15. Latest submission and finish in UFC history, 459 in R5 versus Kyoji Horiguchi. UFC.com Awards. 2011 Half-Year Awards, Best Newcomer of the One Half, and ranked number 7 Upset of the Year versus
Miguel Torres. 2012 ranked number 3 Fighter of the Year and ranked number 7 Fight of the Year versus Joseph Benavidez. 2013 ranked number 2 Fighter of the Year, ranked number 7 Fight of the Year versus John Dodson, and ranked number 10 Knockout of the Year versus Joseph Benavidez. 2015 ranked number 7 Fighter of the Year. 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg, ranked number 3 Fighter of the Year and ranked number 8 Submission of the Year versus Wilson Race. Business Insider, 2010's number 40 ranked was Dominant Athlete of the Decade. The Athletic, 2010's Men's Flyweight Fighter of the Decade. BJPN.com, 2010's number 6 ranked Fighter of the Decade. MMA Sucka, 2017 Submission of the Year versus
Ray Borg at UFC 216, 2010's Fighter of the Decade. Bloody Elbow, 2017 Fighter of the Year. 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. 2010's Flyweight Fighter of the Decade. MMA Weekly, 2013 Fighter of the Year. MMA Junkie, 2015 number 3 ranked Submission of the Year versus Kyoji Horiguchi at UFC 186. 2015 April Submission of the Month versus
Kyoji Horiguchi at UFC 186. 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. 2017 October Submission of the Month versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. 2022 August Knockout of the Month versus Adriana Moraes at ONE on Prime Video 1.
2010's number 2 ranked fighter of the decade. Inside MMA, 2012 Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. Sherdog, 2013 All Violence First Team. 2017 Submission of the Year versus
Ray Borg at UFC 216. ESPY Awards, 2017 Fighter of the Year. Fox Sports, 2013 Fighter of the Year. Fight Matrix, 2013 Male Fighter of the Year. 2017 Male Fighter of the Year tied with Max Holloway. 2018 Most Noteworthy Match of the Year versus Henry Cejudo 2 at UFC 227. MMA Mania, UFC MMA Fighter of the Year 2017, Top 5 List, No.
3. UFC MMA Submission of the Year 2017 Top 5 List. Number 1 versus Ray Borg at UFC 216.
Bleacher Report, 2012 8th Ranked Fighter of the Year. 2013 Fighter of the Year. 2014 8th Ranked Fighter of the Year. 2017 Fighter of the Year. 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. ESPN, 2017 Submission of the Year versus
Ray Borg at UFC 216. Number 4 ranked men's MMA fighter of the 21st century. Sports Illustrated, 2017 Fighter of the Year. Yahoo Sports, 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. Pundit Arena, 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. MMA Fighting, 2017 Submission of the Year versus
Ray Borg at UFC 216. 2010's 4th Ranked Fighter of the Decade. 4th Ranked UFC Fighter of All Time. Wrestling Observer Newsletter, 2017 Most Outstanding Fighter of the Year. World MMA Awards, 2017 Submission of the Year versus Ray Borg at UFC 216. CBS Sports, 2017 number 2 ranked UFC Fighter of the Year. Combat Press, 2017 Submission of the Year versus
Ray Borg at UFC 216. Cageside Press,